Hello guys, welcome to the website authoring class. In this class we're going to be looking at different aspects of website authoring. First of all, we're going to look at a website, what is a website and the web pages. We're also going to look at the web development layers, and we're going to look at the structure of your HTML code and CSS code. Now, like I told you earlier on, you won't be writing much code because we'll be using Microsoft Expression Web for the rest of this class. But however, it is very important and vital that you understand the concepts behind the HTML code and the CSS. Now, understanding this concept will allow you understand better what we're doing when we start developing the web pages using Expression Web, and also it will make it easier for you to answer certain questions that may come out as theory questions which you will have to enter in your evidence document. Okay, so let's proceed. First of all, what is a website? Okay, so a website is basically a collection of individual but related web pages. These web pages are stored in a particular folder which is hosted on the web server, and they are usually accessed through their domain name. Okay, to access the website or a particular web page on the website of the website, you need to use what we call a URL. A URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. Now, it's not on my slides, but you might want to take note of it. It just basically means a particular address for a website or a web page in a website. Like for instance, you can have things like oxfordmanorcollege.org/year 11, something like that. Okay. Now, what is a web page? A web page is just basically a page hosted on a website which contains a series of contents. Now, this content could include a text, images, and multimedia items such as videos and audio files. Example of a typical website that makes use of a lot of videos and audio files would be YouTube, Vimeo, and so on and so forth. Even Facebook does that. I think Facebook makes use of a combination of this thing. Okay. All right. So the web development layer. Now, the web development layers are those layers that talk about how the different areas you need to focus on when you are developing a website, or areas you need to take into consideration when you want to develop a website. And there are three web development layers. The first one is the content layer. This is also called the structured layer, and we'll talk about it later on and see why it's called structured layer. The second layer is the presentation layer, and finally the last one is the behavior layer. Okay, so let's take a close look at the content layer. The content layer, now this layer is responsible for the structure and the content of the website. So the structure of your website, how the website will be structured, and the content layer is responsible for it, and is also responsible for handling the content of the web page, like the text, the images, it loads all those things, the videos, hyperlinks, and so on and so forth. Now, this layer is built using HTML. The full meaning of HTML is Hypertext Markup Language, and this is actually a text-based language that is used for developing the content layer. As we're going down, you see more of it. Now, an example of the hypertext language, it will be like the tags, like the H1 tag. I don't know if any of you have come across it before. Okay, HTML makes use of a lot of tags. Okay, now the content between the less than and the greater than symbol in the tag is called a tag element. Okay, and there are a lot of these tag elements. I give some examples on this slide. Don't worry, I will send the slide as well together with the video on Edmodo, so Just prepare yourself. I'll also be uploading some files to Edmodo as well that will also use for practice in this class. So whenever your timetable says you have an ICT practical, there'll be a video for you to watch and for you to practice with. Okay. Now the HTML tags are often in pairs. When I say in pairs, it means they have an opening tag and a closing tag. Like you see the first H1 here, there's an opening tag, and it also has a closing tag there, which has like a forward slash H1 there. Now, in almost all the HTML tags come with opening and closing tag, but then there's few exceptions. Like we have the image tag that just has just one tag, that's the opening tag. Okay. Now the contents of the web page are usually put between the opening and the closing tag. So I give an example where you have an opening H1 tag that says hello, and then you have the content there, which is hello, how are you, and then the closing tag. And also, the reason why we use the tags, or the reason why you use tags, is because the tags tells the browser how to read the content within the opening and closing tag. So if I have the hello, how are you there, for instance, in the H1 tag, it means set this text here to have the H1 property. So if somewhere in my CSS I have set the H1 properties or style properties to be maybe a 24 point sans serif and black color or white color, it's going to change the styling and the formatting of this hello, how are you into that. Okay. All right, the presentation layer. Now, this layer is responsible for the presentation of the website. It means how is the website presented to the user, the styles and the formatting they use, what kind of font size are you using on particular text, what kind of colors are you using, are you using background colors, are you using background images, what are your border margins, all those things are done in the presentation layer. Okay. Now this layer helps with consistency in the style, so that in one page your heading one will not be set to one style and next page is using a different style. So it creates some kind of consistency with the styles. Okay. Now this layer is built using what we call CSS, and CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Now it is a text-based language used in developing the presentation layer. Okay, so HTML is also text based, CSS is also text based. You need to take note of that. A couple of questions have come where you will be asked something similar. Okay, now the CSS allows for styles and formatting to be applied to the tag elements. Okay, so you can apply styles and formatting to the tag elements, and you do that using your CSS. Okay, oops, just made a mistake there. Okay. Alright, now an example would be like my H1 tag that I was using. I can set the font family to be Arial and then set the font size to be 24 point. So it will now format that hello, how are you text into these properties, make it Arial and 21 font size. Okay, now the example above, I just talked about that. Alright, so that's basically what you need to know about the CSS until when we start writing the code, so we look at common syntax. Now another thing I want to notice, if you see the example there, when you want to write the properties, you first use a curly bracket, then you put the property name and the value you are assigning to that property in it before you use a semicolon. A semicolon just basically means you finish assigning a value to this property and you want to move to the next CSS property, which in this case was the font size. Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is the behavior layer. The behavior layer, this is responsible for the behavior of the web page. That is, how does the web page react to the user's input when the user clicks a button or when the user is trying to pay with their credit card? How does the system react to it? If the user clicks a video, what happens, or clicks a button to play a video, or tries to download a file, how does the web page react to the user? Okay, so this is what the behavior layer does. Okay, and this behavior layer is built using scripting languages like JavaScript. Another example of a scripting language would be PHP, but we'll focus more on JavaScript. That's, in fact, that's the only example you need to give for IGCSE. Now, like I said, the JavaScript is a scripting language used for developing the behavior layer. But however, we're not going to focus much on the behavior layer. For now, this is mostly what you need to know about the behavior layer. For the purpose of IGCSE, we are only going to focus on the content layer and the behavior layer. Okay, so just a recap of all what we've done so far. We talked about the website and the web page. Then we talked about the three development layers. And those three development layers are the content layer, which is sometimes called the structured layer. And we have the presentation layer, and we also have the behavior layer. Please remember these three and every explanation I have given about them. Okay, so now let's look at the basic structure of the HTML. Now the reason why we call it the content layer because the HTML is also used to build the structure of the website, and that structure looks like this. The first thing you see is the idoc tag HTML. Now this is a tag that tells the browser that this document that it's about to read is a HTML document. Then you have the opening HTML tag, which tells the browser that all the content between the opening HTML tag and the closing HTML tag are the content of the HTML codes. Okay, then in your structure there are basically two sections of your HTML tag. The first one is the head section and the second one is the body section. Now in the head section, any content you place between the opening head tag and the closing head tag, these are all information you want to display to the browser or you want the browser to have. This information would not be displayed to the user. Examples of information you might find there is things like metadata information about the page, your CSS style sheet that you import into the page. Now the browser just needs to know that information so it will know how to display the web page. Okay, when you import your style sheet. Now the body section, any content you place within the body section, those are the contents that will be displayed to the user or whoever is viewing the web page. So if you say hello, how are you in the body section, it's going to display hello, how are you in the body section. If you create a table in the body section, it's going to display to the user. Anything you put within the body section, this will be displayed to the user. And then finally, you now have the closing HTML tag. So this is the basic structure of any web page that you want to develop. It must have the structure. If it does not have the structure, then the web page won't function or won't display properly. Okay, so remember the exclamation doc type HTML that tells the browser that this is a HTML document. Then you have the opening and closing HTML tag, and inside that you have the two sections, which is the head section and the body section. Okay, alright, so we're going to stop here for this class. Now the next video I'm going to create is going to talk about how to use this and HTML structure in building your web page. We're also going to look at different HTML tags and how they work and how they can be used. We're going to look at the heading tags, that the heading 1 to 6. I put a little bit of them on the previous slide. We're going to look at the list item tags, particularly the two categories, the ordered list and the unordered list. We're going to look at Other tags, table tag, how you can use HTML to create a table on your web page. So we're going to look at the table tag, what it means. We're going to look at the table data, what it's supposed to do. We're going to look at the table row tag and how all of this works. And in the next video I'm going to do, I'm also going to introduce the expression web environment. Now, this expression web environment is where we'll be writing all our HTML and CSS codes. So after the next video, most likely we'll actually start answering some past questions. And if everything goes as planned, I believe we should be ready for IGCSE if you end up writing the exams after the meeting we have with Cambridge. Okay, so having said all that, good luck. Please watch this video over and over. If you have any questions, you can actually post a comment on Edmodo. Thank you. Bye guys.